when India as a leader talks about being a leader of the region, don't you think we are so silent about such an important issue regarding democracy and basic ethos, and we are not vocal enough to support and to talk about such an important issue going on in our neighborhood? When we say that India is now, with the new world, new economic emergence and all that, we are trying to portray ourselves as a more strong leader of the region. So are we doing enough in that sense? My question is this: when was the overt public attempt to that? Can you recall? Is it, do you think it's enough to establish us as an emerging power in the global world order? You talked about community governance structure. Can you be more specific on that regard? What kind of governance structure and what level and what kind of group are you talking about? If I ask you in context of India, do you identify such structures anywhere else which are actually successful? Can you identify some of the models for me? It's okay. If I go further into it, if I ask you that Andhra Pradesh is a very tribal unique tribal population Andhra Pradesh has, so in that communities, have you ever identified any such structures or similar kind of, not politically like PubAd typical governance structures, but their internal governance structure which you have noticed and from which we can learn? Something very unique happened in UN General Assembly recently. Are you aware? Are you updated about it? There was a vote on an important issue regarding climate change and environmental conservation. And what do you understand by carbon sinks, if I say the term? Okay, what are the natural carbon sinks? Anything would be considered as a carbon sink, or do we use this term narrowly when we talk in ecology? Anything which is green can be considered as a carbon sink, or we define it in a more narrow perspective? So tell me a little about what are the coastal ecosystems are you aware of? What types of coastal ecosystems? So you talked about mangroves and coral reefs. Mangroves, if I study the Indian map, where all will I find mangroves? What are they called? And are you aware of any particular national park or any specific area where mangroves are there? And a little bit going on to what is happening geographically in India. We are witnessing a very untimely rainfalls all across India. This is something which is like it never happened in the near past, right? So what is the reason of why this western disturbance? Okay, I understand in the northwest India. Why so much rains in the southern India and all? What is the reason? What's changing? How do you see the relation of climate change and the untimely rainfall? So what is that rainfall called which is happening because of the rise in temperature? What do we name that kind of rainfall? So what kind of challenges do you see when it comes to the alcohol addicts or delinquents, if I say that? When you must have interacted with the people, so what kind of challenges do you see there? And listen to my question. How do you see any differences in the dependence pattern of your state compared to other states? And is there any specific feature or this whole phenomena of drug dependence is similar in all across India? Okay, and what do we use for treatment of it, as you are a medical graduate also in that context? How do we treat the dependency? What drugs do we prescribe? Are there any drugs, or we use psychological behavioral change? So you didn't think about, as an MBBS graduate, you're working with the drug dependence and all, you didn't think about what if you come across an addict, what is your line of action? What is the course of action? Correlate the two. You are on field in your job. What would be your course of action? You don't do anything about if you find an addict. I'm saying you already are there in field, right? I'm not asking what would be your course. I'm asking, have you come across any addict? And if yes, have you taken any steps to work with them, work with that section of the society?
Yes, ma'am.
And as a medical MBBS graduate, you said you'll use your degree in governance. You have the greatest opportunity now. So, and you have not done anything about it, then how should I believe that once you join IAS you will be using that knowledge? If I talk about women of 21st century India, first question is, how do you define them currently, their scenario? Choose 2, 3, 4 words. And secondly, what kind of vision do you have from them? So, do you understand the difference between the two? The situation currently and your vision or suggestions or whatever you, what do you want to them to be, right? So, use 3, 4, 5 words, definitive words, either adjectives or any word to define the women of 21st century. Okay, also what according to you are the 3 biggest challenges we are facing today? And rank them in order. How much are we spending now? Do you have any rough idea? I'm not asking you the exact amount, but what kind of percentage are we spending on infrastructure currently? What is happening in international agreements regarding climate change? Are you aware of some of the recent developments, like Convention on Biodiversity, what is happening, UNFCCC, what is happening, IPCC, what is happening? These 3 things. Can you tell me the most recent developments in these 3 agreements? No? Not following news? You're working somewhere? Currently no? Then why are you not reading newspaper? Ajay, tell me, today you read a newspaper today?
Today
No? Yesterday?
Yes, yesterday.
What was the news which caught your eye the most? And what is our national interest, which will come in conflict with standing up for democracy? Okay, and if I ask you, we keep on fighting with China, right? Every now and then some border issue, economic issue, but I still feel there are so many things we can learn from the China, the way it conducts itself in international arena. Do you agree with me? Or you don't agree? And if you agree with me, what kind of learnings we can have from China? The conduct of China, no, not only international affairs, let's take China whole as a country, as a system. So you think the biggest meaning of local governance is the increasing the speed? So apart from speed, has it shown its aspect in any other arena? In an international domain, do you see some good points which we can learn? You said you worked with rejuvenation of tourist places.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I make you tourism minister of Telangana state, what kind of vision do you have for Telangana? Answer it holistically in terms of what kind of places you want to highlight, what types of tourism would you highlight, and how would you actually practically implement it? Some strategies to make your vision happen. This is my last question. You are made tourism minister. I want you to firstly identify all the sites and places you want to develop. Okay. Then types of tourism, what kinds of tourism you would want to develop, and lastly, how would you make this 2 vision a reality? What kind of practical things would you do to make your plan effective and that people would come to Telangana? And so, Acha, can you tell me the difference between genetic recombination and genetic mutation? And if I ask you, what is more prevalent, recombination or mutation? Yeah, both are prevalent, but which has a greater frequency? No, overall, in anthropological sense, if I ask you between the two, genetic mutation and genetic recombination, which is the phenomena which is more frequent? If mutations keep happening as frequent as recombination, will continue to be the same species? Will turn into something else then. And if I ask you the difference between animism and animatism, one differentiating, now don't give me elaborate answer, what is the crux definition which you use for both them, so that I can clearly understand their difference. Where is this soul residing? Like it can, where does it How is it identified and how is it associated? So why anthropology then? Why after engineering shifting to a field which is somewhat technical, can be called little technical also? In the biochemistry and that sense. So why shifting to that? Not confident enough in your option? Let's assume that you have cleared UPSC, you have had a good career, and now you are DM of a coastal district in your state. Okay, you are posted as a DM. Now you experience a flash flood. Okay, in your district. So what would be your whole plan of action, starting from step 1 to the in preference of order, right? So take few seconds if you want, but give me a detailed plan. Flash first has occurred, you are the DM, what all you need to do in the order of preference. If I ask you that what kind of India you want to see in next 25 years, what are the areas Indian government should focus on? Choose 5 areas which you think are the most important in deciding India's growth story. You said about world order, changing the world order. What are the problems you see with the world order right now? What you want? What would you want India to change? And what could be the platform for it? Will UN be an effective platform, do you think? We need to change all our international organizations also now, given the situation right now. And my last question to you, what is the international treaty which governs the high seas? That is related to high seas, or it is related to the territorial waters and the domain of individual nations? Are you getting confused between the two? How do we define high seas? So far, for whatever you know and whatever you have experienced, so are you completely happy with the system which is existing, or you would want to suggest some of improvements? I feel sensitivity training is also a major issue which is coming on when we see many incidents, which like the most recent one being an IPS officer being accused of
breaking the teeth of.
Yeah, doing too much of torture in Tamil Nadu, and he has not now been suspended. And he is someone who has just come out of the academy. It's not like that we can attribute other factors of society for his behavior. So just coming out of the academy, if someone is indulging in such a behavior, I see it as a big failure on the part of NPA as whole. Keep on hearing of police torture cases, and so many human rights violation cases are undergone. Leave this one situation, but overall, do you feel that there is a need of little bit of more sensitivity when it comes to police force in general? Many rape victims are made to wait for their statement. Right? Like the recent Hathras case, which was in news, her body was burned. Without so many cases, and since we have agreed on this that sensitivity is required, what actually practically you would suggest, being a student of sociology as well, so you know how human mind, and what about softer means like introducing literature, community visits, like rural visits, more of like working with them, the role of finer qualities, finer modes of teaching. Are they given appropriate place in your NPA training? Similarly, if I ask you frankly, with your limited exposure to the police system in India, do you feel that religion, your identity, religious identity, can affect your role as in field? It may or it may not. It's like totally irrelevant of a factor.
In police itself, ma'am?
Yeah, like you are an SP or additional SP of a district, so your religious identity, it might affect in practical sense in your effectiveness. It might or it might not. So that perception, if I say, can it work against you? Do you think, like in given in the volatile situation as we are undergoing right now, do you personally believe that it might affect your performance in any sense? Let's go on ahead to my next part of the question. What my question really was, if such situation, God forbid, happens, right? You reach a district and before even you started your work, there's a negative kind of perception which is built, right? In that situation, what all steps would you take to, what would be your course of action? But what happens is, in reality, people don't perceive it as neutral it is. So we need to be proactive on that front also. So on that area, what can you tell me some of the practical strategies you will use? But I am talking about how would you practically show that people that you are observing those conduct rules? What basically my question was, what kind of agencies of society you can use to send across that message? So you want to rely on the already existing grouping structures.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have any idea about creating something new with the new young people, some innovative kind of structure if you have some. Yeah, actually I was wanting to hear more of such suggestions, right? So, okay. And interestingly, you were discussing the issue of women drinking alcohol. What was your view? I could not gather it properly. Why you said because of feminism we should allow. So why not prohibit everybody from taking alcohol? Making it compulsorily not for everybody.